Hello, hello everyone! Today, if you witnessed the last few there, is a celebration indeed, I gotta say. Many Hercules Beetles have fallen before it, but finally, eventually, somehow, a single battleship has managed to thwart impossible odds and a swarm of fighters picking at its heels constantly for what seemed like a battle that lasted an eternity. Don't ask me how he won it. Maybe it was exploits, maybe it was the boss being dumb, but in the end, this one Hercules Beetle, a Mark III variant, has managed to overcome insurmountable odds. And I think the only way to celebrate this occasion is to retrofit this into a hero style type of variant. We're going to supercharge everything we can, we're going to make it more potent, we're going to make it as powerful as we can possibly get out of the slots we have, and of course, we're going to reconfigure it for the situation it was placed under and manage to somehow succeed in. So let's get to it, shall we? I don't really have much else to say, other than I don't really have much idea how exactly we're going to go about doing this, aside from the fact that it was a lot of point defense weaponry that won the day here, because the antimatter cannons that we've been using on this Hercules Beetle has basically been pretty much useless there. Since we had lacked the ability to actually control the antimatter cannons, we were kind of forced into a situation where for like 3/4 of the battle we had no ammunition for flak, no ammunition for the antimatter cannons when we finally did break through the fighter screen, and we were pretty much left with just a handful of laser batteries that thankfully were slowly repairing itself. So the real hero of the day of all these laser batteries that we had and a couple of photon torpedoes to slowly wear down the ships. So to start off, I think we need to get rid of these antimatter cannons and replace them with something has a little more emphasis on longevity. I was thinking about it a little bit. I was looking through some of the weapons there, but I think possibly for the main punch of this weapon, we're probably going to want to use the disruptors maybe. They are a lot weaker there. Let me just have a comparison of these two. The antimatter cannons are actually lighter with 30 production, and the disruptors are heavier, interestingly, with 12 production, so cheaper to build, but a lot heavier. I wonder if I actually want to do that now that I think of it. Because maybe it might be better just to stick with like spinal lasers, but that's pretty heavy as well, goddammit. This is not going well for a beginning. I took out all the antimatter cannons to try and save up ammo, but in the end it's not working out the way I would like. So I think what I'm going to do instead is change the flak formation cannons there to be able to give me a proper 360-degree defensive screen arc. Because what I've been noticing there when going up against the waves of interceptors is that they've been hugging around the backside quite a lot because I'm trying to outrun them and avoid them altogether. So I need to use these flak cannons, which are pretty potent point defense weaponry, and use them to kind of protect my backside there as well as the sides. So I think evening out the amount of flak we have to use is gonna give us a lot more potency there as a way to start off. Next, because like I said, this is going to be fighting more closer range, fighting lots of fighters, I think the canopy shield needs to go. And in its place, I'm going to exchange it with some regular class 3 shields, which I gotta say seems kinda questionable at first glance, but I like to believe that this will make it more useful there in the long term if I do this right. So hopefully it will not bite me in the ass there. As far as ammo, since the antimatter cannons are gone, we have more ammo to utilize for this flak. And as I already described earlier, I've been running out of ammo throughout the fight, so I think it is time They cut a lot of these munition storage there and supercharge it with an ordnance fabricator. Because that would single-handedly solve my issues right there. Let's see. I want to know how much ammo it makes. 5 ammo a second, and these things use 1 ammo per like 3 seconds, so, or 2 I guess, considering it's 2 shots, so 2, 4, and then there's like 8 up there, so that would actually be respectable, seeing as a lot of the times all the flak's not going to be firing at once, so I think I'm okay with that for the time being. And if needed, I can just throw more fabricators in, or at least a second one to offset, because I think these flak cans are going to be the only weapons I'm going to be using that's going to require ammunition. It's just a question if I want to throw more on or not. Because there's a lot of experimentation needs to be done. Next, I think I'm going to get rid of the basic command, because again, the role is for really shooting down lots of swarming weaker fighters there, and the damage boost isn't necessarily going to be all that significant. So I'm going to take that out. That gives us a little more room to throw more stuff on. As for what, I'm not exactly sure. And with all that said, we have the opportunity to supercharge a lot of these weaponry here, so I need to look at this quickly and see where I can get the most amount of shots for my slot. Because I don't actually think I want these dual turrets there. Because I think I could get more value just getting like all these regular laser cannons instead of a dual laser. Just to put it right across there to get more shots off, and of course each separate one will be able to hit separate targets as well, so that'd probably be worthwhile in a sense, I would imagine. But of course, before I forget about it, I should probably include the targeting array and kind of increase the accuracy and reliability of all these weapons, because that's going to be pretty significant. And the sick bay. Do I really want the sick bay now? Considering this hero ship's already going to be leveled up, it's already max level, it's already got the medals as a result to kind of reduce damage, and this doesn't do a whole lot for me besides it take a lot of space. This is really hard to judge, to be honest. I think I can experiment without it for now. If I really want to, I could just put a transportation device there, since it has the fabricators and ammo to justify it. Which is actually another ship I should have to play with, a kind of utility ship, at some point. There's another thought, but that's for another video, I think. So we'll leave it for now. But let's continue on, shall we? Because another thing I was thinking of is, now that I have the phasers, I think I may want to start including them to kind of shoot down, well, at least help shoot down the fighters there, because these things are incredibly accurate. Unfortunately, it's going to be a pretty overkill, I would imagine, shooting down these fighters, but they're going to do a large amount of damage as a result, especially if they can get to the bigger ships. So this is going to be a lot of experimentation, I think, for me, trying to figure out how these phasers will work. Because it could very easily be overkill, because they do have a 10-second rate of fire. Because they're gonna shoot their beam, it's gonna kill a fighter, and then it's just gonna fire aimlessly in the direction, I think. So I don't believe it's gonna work out the way I would like it to. But like I said, that's gonna require a lot of experimentation after we get this thing built up. But with those beam lasers set up, I can probably justify putting more using these high energy focuses, because how I understand these things work, they basically triple or at least greatly reduce the fall off damage for the beam lasers so far away, and it's for every single beam weapon in the same quadrant. So I can just build 2 of these, and that will basically cover all these beam lasers here for me, which won't be too shabby. I will be happy with that. And with that said, I might as well get rid of some of these, fill out the rest of those with phasers, I think I got, yeah, I got the full arc there. I probably could do the rapid fire, but I'll adjust those tweaks later on when I get to it. And then we'll throw some more lasers on, because I want to avoid the missiles, because I think the same situation is going to happen where it's kind of overkill in a sense. Which I don't think I want to do. Oh, and it's come to think of it, I should adjust the arc. And since this is a hero ship, it's allowed to have the rapid fire for the lasers. And I also got mass reduction, which is going to help a bit with reducing the mass of these weapons. Yeah, as you can already see there even. So this is going to work out well. It's going to have a little bit of an awkward setup. But we'll give this a try and see how it works out, because we're going to have very little point defense weapons for shooting down missiles. But we're going to have a lot of regular lasers to shoot everything else. I just want to make sure everything's upgraded. Because we're looking at 2 lasers of a turret here, basically. So that's going to be a lot of weaponry, a lot of potential power, and a lot of damage to go around. I think I want to keep those dual turrets up there, because they fit there in those slots relatively well. So I'm not ejecting that, and because I'm cutting all the heavy stuff there, I think we got an amazing amount of power to work with here. Which, to be fair, I kind of need, considering these phasers. So maybe I don't want to cut power back too much once we get this all sorted out. And proximity mines sound promising, don't they, too? Just drop a couple mines there. Although, sadly, it is pretty picky about where they go. They do 1,000 damage. I don't know what kind of explosion radius they do, though. That's the only problem. Because I could drop those. They would work for fighters. But I actually will give them a try and see how they work. Because if they could do like a radius type of blast, that would be perfect. And they would fit that role really well for me. If I can make it work out. That leaves us with a couple more slots here to throw in. Which we're looking good on ammo. And energy reserves obviously are still infinite. And we got this massive gaping hole right here that we gotta fill with something useful. I almost wonder if an astrometric slab would be good, considering it increases targeting a bit. Oh, come to think of it, these things actually do increase targeting for ships, don't they, to some extent. That reduces command points. The CIC actually, yeah, acts 4 levels higher for purpose of targeting, so actually that might be worthwhile. Or, well, do they stack, I guess is the question, because otherwise I might as well just stick with the targeting computer. You know, act 3 levels higher, I kind of wonder if I could just stack them. I don't know if it actually works or not, but I'm willing to give that a try, because I don't really need the command point reduction, considering this is going to be a one-off ship, so I don't mind suffering 2 extra command points on that, especially with so many free frigates and corvettes at this point. So we got that there. I don't think we need particle capacitors because it kind of dependent on beam weapons. How its effectiveness is based on the number of beam weapons. And since there's like 5 different beam weapons, it would not be nearly as potent. There'll be like a 20% reduction, I think, which actually is about the same as the rapid fire, almost. Only it would not require as much tonnage. Let's see, I would imagine it'd be 1 extra ton. And this one's 3 tons, so it would justify it a little bit there, as well as the power draw. So maybe I will give that a try, because it's a little more efficient. Fill those 2 empty slots with just point defense lasers. And we'll just need to figure out what the hell we're going to do with that front row, because I don't want to just throw more flak on. Come to think of where the hell are those lasers? Damn it. There we are. A couple more lasers on the side there. That fills out the side rows with lots of laser cannons. We're gonna have to really thoroughly test this out though to see how it works. And right now the cost is significantly cheaper than Hercules Beetle, so we're gonna have to find some way to rectify that to justify this being an actual hero ship. Because I don't think there's much high quality, high advanced tech weaponry that actually would utilize it pretty well. Aside from maybe more phasers. Maybe that's what I could do. Just throw more phasers on to kind of help offset that to an extent. At least they'll give it more punch there, especially against capital ships. It's still a question on how it will do. Well, I'm completely wrong there, because the phasers are actually cheaper than the laser cans right now. So I was completely wrong. Who would have figured that? Considering that's like, the phasers are like the latest tech I just researched in my campaign so far, so the fact that the phaser is actually cheaper, as well as lighter, is kind of ridiculous. It's just the energy demands that are required of it. So there's something that I had not really realized, so this is going to be hard to this is going to be really hard to make at least top tier, like production wise at least. Because this, like I said, this is going to be cheaper than Hercules Beetle. And I wonder if it's a good idea to use singulated cannons. Because that's like a massive railgun in a sense where it goes through everything, but it moves so slow. How the hell is it going to hit any fighters though? Like I said, it's going to take a lot of experimentation. And this says it's an explosive shell, but it doesn't really emphasize, it's not really meant for point defense anyway, so I don't think it's going to work the way I would think it would. Alright, so I might as well focus on the frontal punch then. Give it some overloaded power, rapid fire, and just use it for the front there. To try and help with giving it damage that it needs. Then we'll fill the slots with power capacitors, because, well, actually I got plenty of slots in here to fill. So what the hell can I fit in there? This is going to be a bit difficult to do. Because do I even care about sensor arrays all that much? You can easily get one ship, like a cheaper ship, to do the sensor array for you to kind of fit that role. You don't need it for a single battleship, I would imagine. So I really question that, to be honest. So what the hell can I throw in here? I guess I could throw in more shields, actually. Throw in some smaller shields to fit this one here. Advanced ECM seems like an interesting idea too, now that I think of it. Takes a lot of energy. It jams their accuracy, at least for the other capital ships. It's not going to do crap against fighters though. And it also stops missiles there, but I don't have actually as many point defense weapons as I would like to brag about. Which is kind of funny, because that would shoot down missiles just fine. But I do have the flak, which might do the job just as well. So I'll leave that as is. And I think that's about it, as far as I need. I just might need more power capacitor, or more power in general. And if needed, I can switch out one of these ordnance storage for a fabricator, which will kind of help as well with any ammo issues I might have. So 3 more power generators there will should get rid of any issues I might have with power. So this is going to be a bit awkward, because I don't actually think this is going to be a better ship unless I can figure out those phasers that get the most value out of them. I don't think this is actually worthy of being a hero ship. It really comes down to the phaser's effectiveness and the proximity mines, which the funny thing is, the proximity mines, you fire them in the front because of that arc. And you can't even extend the arc, so that's going to be awkward as well. But let's give it a try and see what first impressions are like. Alright, we are here. We are ready to test this out. I just gotta make sure this is the right one. Because actually I got two different battleships that go by a test name. So which one's my one? Okay, that's my Thorn Beetle, so I can actually get rid of that design, just so it don't bring confusion. And then we'll deploy this new one that we're experimenting with. So, the only way I can think about doing this is to use my carrier ships. Because they are pretty high-tech and dangerous, so they should do pretty well. We'll start off with 3, and we're just going to focus on taking out the fighter waves. See how, because that's going to be the main significance. Oops, and I accidentally put them way down here. And it's also got the heavy fighters, so we'll have to see how that works. Yeah, like I said, the beams are just continuing to fire aimlessly. So they're not really doing too much good for me. And these are fully upgraded fighters too, so we'll have to see. And of course they're firing their own phases, which is hard to really judge. And of course with the carriers so close, it's kind of hard to actually focus my fire strictly on the fighters themselves. And apparently, energy demands are pretty extreme, needless to say. But they are dying relatively quickly. So that's 3 top-tier carrier ships that are entirely emphasized on fighters, destroyed in like 30 seconds almost. It's just hard to say how much of that was from the lasers, how much of that was from the phasers. Because remember, I have like 3 targeting computers on this thing. And for the sake of the arena, this Beetle also has no levels to it, so it has potentially more accuracy in the real thing. So what do I want to check? My test Beetle's still there. I thought I got rid of that. Yeah, I did get rid of it. It's just still showing. That's weird. Huh. Maybe that's when I reset. Oh, and we got a bug here of some kind. So we're gonna have to fix that. Some weird bug there was not letting me switch over to the deployment phase. So well, I think the first thing we want to do is see just how many of these fighters it can actually take on. We're going to suffer a little bit of slowdown, though, I have to say. But I think it's worth experimenting. We're going to try 4 carriers. And we're going to let it go. And we're going to see. And we got proximity mines already deployed too. I don't know if that's a fair comparison, because they were all clustered together. And at least the proximity mines, what they tell me there is they only damage 1 ship, so that's probably not worth it. So that was overkill, just because of how clumped up those fighters were. So that was not a fair test. But we do need more power. That is much as obvious if I'm going to use all these lasers and phasers the way I would like. But look at that mountain laser battery. That thing is constantly firing, it's constantly running out of energy, no less. I don't know how much it's being hindered, though, as a consequence, to be able to fire all that stuff. It seems perfectly fine when it's firing from one side, but if it's firing all the weapons, yeah, it doesn't have the power to fire everything. Is what I'm deducing from this. So, What the hell caused that explosion there? That was the flak, I'm willing to say. That kind of killed every single one of those fires in a single salvo, right? Because there's no way the laser batteries could do that. And everything else is basically single fire, so I don't expect the phasers to do it either. Even with their channeled beam. But I'm just going to try this one more time. I'm going to put these really close so that way the fighters will do what they just did there and be super clumped up. Because if they're so close. See how that works? Yeah, that's just... those waves are dying immediately when they clump up like that. Is that seriously from the flak cannons? Because that's a ridiculous amount of AO damage. To kill every single one of those fighters almost.